but that's not what I want to discuss. Does it bother, totally random, especially random of a YouTube upload, given this isn't exactly a fresh topic, but does it bother anybody else how much the die-cast metal Thomas and Friends toy line has changed over the years? More so in recent years than overall. Because it's been bothering me for a hot minute, and I want to give my own take on these changes, especially because I don't know, I'm not the one running around stealing a record player from Goodwill. Anyway, so the story of the die-cast metal Thomas the Tank Engine toy line began with a company called Ertl. The Ertl Company, who were best known for toy cars and toy tractors, excuse me, produced a range of die-cast engines back in the mid-80s. 1985 saw these release. Now, the early releases of the toys had paper sticker faces, which were more reminiscent of the original Railway series books than the television show that was currently airing at the time. But then again, this was the 80s, the show was only a year old. They probably didn't have a whole lot to work with. Yong Bao. They probably didn't have a whole lot to work with. But anyway, so Ertl, as I was saying. But yeah, Ertl produced the Thomas range in 1985. Now, let me get my facts straight. Okay. Now, well, actually, to be more specific, they debuted in the UK. I know I just said 85, but in the UK in 84. My apologies. And debuted in the US in 1989. Let's just say 84 to play it safe. There was really only one major change made to these toys. And let me go grab that. So, the only real major change that was made was we went from paper sticker faces to plastic molded faces. Although some engines had metal faces that were a part of the actual tooling. Now, while some of these faces are more accurate than others, I do think they look much better than the paper faces, but that's just me. Now, Ertl, Ertl, Jesus, Ertl had the rights to produce the Thomas trains for a long time, having first started in 1984 and having ran all the way until 2004, which actually, depending on where you live in the world, it may vary. Some of these toys were produced, or let me try that all over again. In the US, Ertl discontinued their engines in 2002 to make way for something I'll mention in a moment. But in the UK, they ran for an additional 2 years to 2004. Anyway, now, would you believe, other than the face, that these toys didn't really change over those 20 years? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I will admit, and this is not knocking anybody that likes these toys, Ertl, the Ertl Thomas toys were not perfect at all. I mean, despite the fact that they produced basically everything under the sun for 20 years, they had their flaws. The faces I can write off because it was the 80s to 2000s. First major flaw, they were very disproportionate. Not necessarily disproportionate to the engine basis, more so disproportionate to each other. Like Thomas by himself here, I mean, looks a little long, but looks like Thomas. But then place him next to, yeah, next to Percy here. Very dusty. I should wipe these off. But next to Percy, and Percy looks actually quite large compared to Thomas, which shouldn't really be the case. Percy should be much smaller than Thomas. I mean, not like microscopic by comparison, but just smaller. But for some reason, the Ertl diecast painted him as a, literally speaking, jolly green giant. And I have no earthly idea, why. But seen better days, but still in actually pretty good shape, all things considered. Oh, and then you take an engine like Donald, who, I mean, yeah, is longer than Thomas, but not much. And then it's like, what in God's good name? Like, good Lord. Oh, yeah, and the other major flaw, I think, with these toys is the tender engines permanently conjoined. Which, I mean, I kind of get that because, the tenders are a part of the engine, but, like, why would you do that? And probably the wheels, I think, on the Ertls were also very flimsy. Yeah, they look like real train wheels, but they were very flimsy. And on top of that, I feel as well, the coupling system was really, really bad. Anyway, so the coupling system on the Ertls, you'll notice the engines have sort of this thing, like a little hole on the front and on the back. How does that work? Well, if you were lucky, sometimes you would find a piece of rolling stock that has this, a pin. Or not really a pin, but a peg. Very dusty. And if you were lucky, you would find a piece of rolling stock that has the pin that drops into the hole. Not a very sturdy connection, but it does work. But here's the thing, most of the time, if you're buying these toys used, that pin will be broken off. Because it's much more common for children to just, well, I'm not going to do it myself, but much more common for children to just jam it together and expect it to connect that way. When what you should do is just drop it in, like that. Oh yeah, and the track system on the Ertls was also very shit, but that's a whole other rant. But yeah, 20 years. 20 years, there was nothing wrong with this. But in 2002 in the US and 4 in the UK, they were discontinued. Now, okay, so Ertl acquired Learning Curve International in 2003. The Thomas range from Ertl was then discontinued in 2004 due to avoid conflict and contradiction, I guess, with the then existing Take-Along Thomas system license held by Learning Curve. Now, excuse me, forgive me, I do not have a normal stock standard. Shit. Okay. You'll have to forgive me. I do not have a normal stock standard take along Thomas, but I do have the snowplow Thomas, which that's a good enough example. So take along, created by Learning Curve. This was the first major change to the line. Launched, I hate using fandom wikis so much. Anyway, Take Along launched in 2002 in the US and 2005 overseas in Europe. Now, hang on. All right, there we go. Now, the basic premise of the Thomas and Friends Take Along line, as the name would imply, excuse me, the line was portable, playsets you could take on the go, and smart. Oh yeah, this I think already was the major improvement from these couplings. Take Along featured smart magnets, meaning two-way magnets, meaning they could connect like this, or like this, or like anything. Yeah. Now, the take-alongs were very squished, much more, not really cartoonish, but stylized, I guess would be the right word. And they were definitely more based on the promo artwork, not really renders, but promo art that was out at the time. I had quite a few take-alongs, and its successor when I was a kid. Those were really fun. Now, Take Along was first released in the US exclusively at Target in 2002, and then later at other retailers and in Europe in 2005. Then in 2006, the track system was redesigned to a more realistic design with male and female connectors. Adapters were sold in playsets released that year to shit. Adapters were sold in sets and other track packs to connect to the original system. Although the line was discontinued in 2009, I bet you can see where this is heading. After Mattel, under their Fisher-Price banner, took over. Although it is worth noting that leftover take-along stock would still pop up on store shelves until at least 2011. Because I do recall between 2009 and 2010, you could still find Take Along in stores alongside its successor. Excuse me. Anyway, now, in 2009, Hit Entertainment, who were the owners of the Thomas and Friends brand at the time, made a deal with Mattel to where they would produce toys based on the Hit Entertainment properties. And in 2010, well, I hate using fandom wiki so much. Anyway, in 2000, and, well, son of a bitch, stop refreshing. Oh my, a problem repeatedly occurred. Yeah, I know. Anyway, in well, the copyright is 2009, but they released in 2010. Thomas and Friends Take and Play released. Now, although it was the replacement for Thomas Take Along, the premise was the same as the Learning Curve line. Portable play sets, magnet connectors, small die-cast engines. Now, they used the same molds and the same design as Take Along beforehand, but of course were slightly different. Now, you probably wouldn't even notice anything different because to the untrained eye, a Take and Play Thomas from Mattel would just look like a Take Along Thomas from Learning Curve. Almost. Now, this is why I even wanted to bring this up. Like, at all. This is the remote reason why. Let me just my fingies here. Very eerie, very ominous. The right kind of eerie and ominous vibe that you want. Such a good show, and I've never even played any of the Fallout games. Anyway. Anyway, where I was going with this. The Take and Play range. Alright, basically, while Ertl went through one... Oh. I love me a mid-credits. I'm letting myself get so distracted. I love me a next episode teaser. Anyway, now while Take Along, while Ertl went through just one major change, paper to plastic faces, and Take Along basically had no changes to the toys themselves, but one change to the track. Take Along went through a few different changes. Okay, first off, while Take Along playsets were made up of several different individual... Good save. While Take Along playsets were made up of several different small individual pieces, Take and Play, this is a really good one, by the way, were very different. They folded like damn origami that you stole from Goodwill. So basically, you just fold it up like so. Assuming I got that. Yep, got it right. Fold it up. Click these in. Dust that off. Do the clip down here. And you're ready for some Thomas Fun on the Run from the Feds. Anyway, place that back down here. So that was the first major change. The second major change occurred in 2013 when numerous models were redesigned with noticeable upgrades and or alterations to their faces, wheels, and overall detailing. This is a Thomas from 2013. Face is now more accurate to the CGI show, still based on the Learning Curve tooling, but wheels are now what Leo Kim video calls the Hot Wheels or pinwheel style. Assembled in kind of a different manner. They are riveted together instead of screwed. And the magnets were shit quality. Anyway. One second. Carrying on. The change also coincided, oh yeah, and new introductions to the range at this time also acquired all of these changes in the initial release. Excuse me. All right. The second major change occurred in mid-2014 when numerous models were again redesigned with complete reworks to their overall configuration, including wheel configuration, height, length, and overall detailing. This second redesign was the biggest change in the line's history. All new introductions to the range acquired the changes in their initial release. Most redesigned engines from this time also now used a standard 4 or 6 wheel chassis, and engines who had more than 6 wheels had their additional wheels molded onto the sides of their undercarriage. Yeah. And the smaller two-way magnet system, which I much prefer and will always love, as seen here, was replaced with the new one-way system, identical to that found on the Thomas Wooden Railway range. The cabs, domes, whistles, and any other detailing on top also shrunk in size, and the models now adopted a cheaper metal, which means, yeah, they basically shittened up the quality. You know, I guess it could be a lot worse. A lot worse. But whoever said, yes, let's put the big ass magnets on the tiny die cast, you need brain surgery. So anyway. Now, this design, oh, wrong one. This design with the one-way magnets was heavily criticized, and still is to this very damn day. And honestly, rightfully so. I think it looks pretty ugly too, even if I low-key miss it. But you would think Mattel would be satisfied with that change, especially because just a year earlier, in 2013, no. In 2017, Mattel released and replaced the line with Thomas and Friends Adventures. Now, Adventures was actually, Adventures was interesting. It was a localization, I guess the right word, of the international toy line known as Collectible Railway. Now, if you haven't heard of the Collectible Railway line, there we go. Now, if you haven't heard of the Collectible Railway line, that's because it's only really sold in places like, you know, the Philippines and China and other similar territories. But they localized it for America under the title Adventures. Anyway, now the line, well, its shelf date, I do not remember okay, I remember Fandom Wiki being shit. I do not remember it being broken. Now, the shelf date for Adventures was December 2016, though it officially released in 2017. Anyway, the range, and it was of course the replacement for Thomas Take and Play. Now, the range featured several engines, playsets, etc. that were from the Collectible Railway line in those other countries. Those other countries, but with the minor change being the track was now gray instead of puke colored. For a short period, oh, I should probably go ahead and mention that. Gone were the magnets, and in came, let's see if I have one on standby here. No, I do not. Gone were the magnets, and in came the, there's one actually. You'll have to forgive me, I do not have a standard Thomas in the Adventures line, but in came the clip connectors, which I think look a lot better than those dumb, ugly one-way magnets. Yeah. Now these, and hey, these were two-way because you could twist them. So now your engines and rolling stock could connect two ways. And hey, to piss off, or not, well, to piss off current day Mattel at the time and to please nostalgia fags, albeit with a bit of force, you can connect to your precious Ertl, even though you're most definitely not supposed to. But cool, cool. I love accidental compatibility. Also, I thought that was going to break on me, honestly. So, yeah. Now, oh yeah, but as I was saying, for a brief period of time, you could order adapter packs from magnet to clip and track to track from Mattel for a brief period. Hang on. Anyway, for a brief period, you could get adapter packs directly through Mattel customer service to ensure compatibility. And then, for some reason, out of nowhere, I don't know if it was due to low sales or what, but Adventures was discontinued at the end of 2018. Not even a full 2 years later. Now, I'll deliver my thoughts on that in a moment, but I'm going to take a quick break before we do, so we'll be right back. I'm back. So anyway, picking up where I left off. Yeah, Thomas Adventures, despite being more of the same, but still a step above what preceded it was, for some reason, and I have no idea why, discontinued very fast. And in 2019, Mattel did something really weird. They said, what if we took Thomas Trackmaster and made the diecast range compatible with it? Even though we already released a playset a few years prior that basically got the exact same point across, quite well, I should add, even if a little ridiculous. Wow, this looks ugly. Stop eating them fatty foods, Thomas. You're starting to lose weight. You're starting to gain weight, I should say. My God. Looking like a lardy there. Now, I mean, okay, I guess it's cool that... you know, that now your metal trains can play on your Trackmaster track. I guess it's cool that your metal trains can now connect. And I guess it's cool that your metal trains can now connect to your battery-powered ones, but what was the point of this change? Other than to basically appease clueless parents complaining on Amazon that the two don't work. But yeah, this was a very odd, weird change that I will never understand. So confusing, in fact, that when it first hit stores, I wasn't even angry, I was just confused, if anything. Okay, like, beyond confused. But anyway, the Trackmaster push-along range. I really hate using Fandom Wiki with all of its pop-ups. Good lord. It's like the exact kind of site your grandma would tell you not to use back in the 2000s. I mean, no disrespect to the people at Fandom. I'm sure they're good people, but my god. Anyway, but the Trackmaster push-along range was introduced in 2019. The design of the engines and vehicles was similar to that of Adventures, but with aforementioned and aforeseen wider chassis that fit on Trackmaster track, and couplings that attach to said engines. Very loud motorcycle outside. Now, in 2020, the line dropped the Trackmaster title to simply be Push Along. Along with Trackmaster itself, seeing a rebrand simply as Motorized, in order to fit with Mattel's simplified rebranding of the toy lines. But yeah, this should be fine enough, right? So in 2021, both the metal and die-cast line, or both the motorized and... I need to go to bed. Anyway, in 2021, the line was redesigned again, this time to be more in line with Thomas & Friends All Engines Go. And hey, that actually looks really good. Like, legitimately, I really liked these. I really like the All Engines Go push-alongs. These looked really nice. Sure, some of them still a little iffy, and there were some discrepancies and inconsistencies that I'll mention when we get to that at a later date, but because that's a story for another time. But once again, same story as before. Wide chassis, Trackmaster or motorized hooks. They fit on your motorized track. They connect to your motorized engine. Yeah, basically same song and dance as before. Now, at this point, since 2013, Mattel has already changed the die-cast Thomas trains like a gajillion times. Surely they can't change again, right? Right? Well, in 2021, there was sort of a rebrand as Metal Collection. Now, it was technically still the same as Push Along before it, but different name. And then in 2025, the line was redesigned briefly again. Anyway, this was a short-lived successor to the previous toy of the same name, which was released in June 2025 to coincide with the 80th anniversary of the Railway Series books. And these saw the line revert back to the CGI series. And these, again, actually look really nice. I love how this looks. We have the side rods, which, okay, head on, they do look a little weird. They do stick out a little too far, I think. But new tooling altogether, they look really nice. They only did 4 new toolings. Thomas, Percy, James, and Henry were the only 4 to be given this treatment. In fact, this Thomas, with the line work being painted on, actually comes from the Sodor Adventure Pack, which that's a cool pack, I should say. Anyway, this was... Now, me and many others foolishly thought that this was permanent. And doesn't help that they also released a new motorized range alongside, which again looks really nice, even if I am really confused what's with the cum stain detailing. And of course, they still had the compatibility from before, from the couplings to the track. But this was really nice. I love this. That should be perfect, right? 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 Yeah, if you've seen Star Wars and you know what Anakin's staring into silence means. Yeah, so according to... Excuse me. So according to Tutali Thomas, which is a pretty reputable retailer of Thomas & Friends toys, the range was intended merely to be a stopgap filler line until a new die-cast and motorized range with magnets. And what proved this was that the next several Metal Collection engines were simply just 2019 toolings with the new wheels. Which means, yes, they're completely skippable. And the final, hopefully final change to the Thomas & Friends die-cast range is simply titled Metal. Now, I don't own any of these because they have not released yet. But this toy range is set to be released in June 2026 to coincide with the new reboot also coming later this year. Whew. Now, I was a little put off by these at first, but actually, looking at the new range, let me turn my brightness down so it comes off better on camera, I hope. I actually really like this new range. I mean, sure, I wish, this line could have kept going, because I think it had all the right pieces going on, but by all intents and purposes, I like what Mattel's doing here. They're different, but they're not too different. And sure, while it does absolutely suck ass that they will not be compatible with anything that preceded, and that especially sucks ass because now the motorized engines will have magnets too, cutting off 30 years of compatibility. I do think these new engines and new sets look very nice and very promising. Have you kept track? Have you, no pun intended, no pun intended, but have you kept track of how many times Mattel has changed, altered, or redesigned these die-cast metal trains since they took the reins? Rhyme not intended. Because, yeah, oh. Anyway, but yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because that was a fuck ton of shit going on. Again, they have changed and altered these stupid toys so many times, and I really hope that this new 2026 range actually stays around for longer than a year rather than basically being tossed to the wayside after a year. Or in the case of the metal collection from 2025, not even a year. Quite literally that same year. Oh, but yeah. But yeah. I don't really have like a long-winded tangent to go on beyond that. But just if you can name any other toy line or any other product that has been redesigned or altered or changed that many times, please let me know. Or if you can think of any that haven't been changed at all, please let me know. Actually, I guess to conclude this tangent, oh yeah, the other two doofuses are busy. They'll be back next time. But it was nice to do a one-on-one. Yeah, but I guess to conclude, I'm gonna keep this generic, totally random, but I'm gonna keep this sort of generic as a sort of form of, I guess, future proofing would be the right word, but if you make fun of a current tragedy, specifically a current tragedy that is happening outside your ballpark. And you're cracking jokes about it, like, how will this affect me? And you're finding a way to make it about yourself. Well, I mean this politely, but I'm also not going to sugarcoat it. You might actually be a heartless bastard if you do that. Sorry I have to tell you like that, but it's the truth. And I guess to anybody in the future who may be listening to this, I guess thanks for listening to a grown-ass individual talk about toy trains and their constant redesigns for sub an hour. I mean, not quite an hour. Well, 45 minutes. That's just shy of an hour, I'd say. Yeah. February really went out with a bang. And not in a good way. No, I think, no, February went out with a bang in a nightmarish way. Yeah. Excuse me. Anyway, in other news, pee pee, poo poo, doo doo, caca coffee, lick my hairy testicles, spank 'em silly, and other exciting Thomas adventures. Anyway, I guess what. Oh, actually, before we go, and before I forget, I did want to ask all of you watching at home, you want to see something radical? Radical, isn't it? Anyway, now without further ado, I guess what we learned tonight is, well, to play pretend. No, but in all seriousness, I guess what we learned tonight, simply put, don't trust a major toy company to keep something exactly the same for longer than a nanosecond. Because chances are it will change the moment I'm finished with this sentence. See, told you so. I guess the other thing we learned tonight is if you steal a record player from Goodwill, I'm sure you're a good person, but your mom's a hoe. Anyway, come back tomorrow night when I have to bust someone out of jail, but will I elaborate further? Nope, because I said enough. But for now, that's all the time we have for tonight. But always remember, eat your cereal, go to bed, to be continued. God made you special and he loves you very much. If you do drugs, you go to hell before you die. Good night, and pretend this thing is even on Movie Magic. Have a day. It's honestly relaxing doing this solo, but also awkward as hell. But I mean, hey, at least I got this done in record time. Go me! Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hoppers in theaters soon. Lizard. Have a day.